My very first finger injury was while full crimping, so I really thought that was my main risk going forward and started avoiding it. But then my next few finger injuries were not full crimp related, so that was a little bit confusing. While my girlfriend was living in San Diego, I spent about 40% of my time there as a remote worker, and I would climb outside, often at Santee, which had a lot of slabby climbs that require a bunch of full crimping, where the weight should mostly be on your feet if done appropriately. Sometimes easier said than done. And it was really no problem at first, but the problem was I was so psyched to have quality outdoor climbing only like 25 minutes away that I ended up going out like 3 or 4 times a week and just going easy on a couple of those days. Not easy enough, apparently. Pretty quickly, my fingers all started feeling kind of tweaky, and I had a couple of minor injuries before backing off a bit. This roller coaster experience with full crimping compelled me to go down a YouTube rabbit hole of research. The internet talks a lot about the dangers, of course, but you also find a few folks claiming that it isn't too bad under the right circumstances. Hard to really know what's true. Fortunately for me, I found Hooper's Beta, who turned me on to a physical therapist in Chicago that specializes in helping rock climbers. So shortly before leaving Chicago, I went to see him, and I'm really glad that I did. I learned quite a few things from this PT, and I might make a video on that later, but probably the most impactful thing I learned was his approach to and thoughts on full crimping. Quick disclaimer, I'm not a doctor or an expert or qualified in any way to give anyone advice about anything ever. But here's what I took away from my meeting with him. Full crimping is inherently more dangerous due to the angles of the joints and the stresses that you're putting on the connective tissues. So avoiding it completely is theoretically the best way to also avoid injuries. However, there are times that I need to full crimp outside in order to send a climb, either because the hold is just so small and bad, or possibly to achieve the right body position and tension. I've got a great example of that here in just a sec. But if the only time you full crimp is in a near limit send scenario, it's pretty likely that it could get you injured. So here's what you do. Step 1, pay attention to when you full crimp. Don't be just going around full crimping all willy-nilly on anything you feel like it. Make a conscious decision when to full crimp, pay attention to it, and only do so in a slow and controlled manner. Step number 2, expose your body to non-damaging stimulus that start to work on the strength and resilience of the body in this grip position. Basically what this guy recommended was every day doing a little bit of pulling, feet on the ground, hands on the hangboard, full crimp position, pull for like 10 seconds, I think he said, and rest for then the better part of a minute. Pull for 10 seconds, repeat that, 5 times or so, 10 times maybe. You're not pulling to any like significant pain, like maybe at most the 3 or 4 out of 10 that you would pull for like a normal rehabbing type stuff. I don't recall what he said about that, if anything, but you're not pulling maximally. The idea is basically to get your body used to being in that position and putting some load through the tissues, but not doing it in a way that's so near maximal that it's breaking down and causing damage and injury that your body can't recover from and catch up fast enough. So if you're just doing this daily light pulling on the hangboard in that position, it's a great way to prep your body without breaking it down and risking injury. Hopefully after a few weeks or a few months of doing that, you start to feel better, and I really did. It was starting to feel more comfortable just to be in that position and like less shocking to my body and less scary to pull on a little bit. And as that starts to happen, you want to allow yourself more on the wall usage, but you need to maintain your control over when you're using it. Once again, don't just get haphazard and start to use it all the time without realizing it. Maintain a really good Maintain a really good awareness of when you're using the full crimp, and if you should or shouldn't be or need to be or have been doing it a lot this session or this week, like you just gotta really keep tabs on it. When in doubt, rest more and use the position less, because it is one that's prone to injury. Even with all that knowledge in mind, I still kind of overdid it a little bit. I feel like I kind of had a good excuse, but you let me know if you agree. This is one of those scenarios where I found it necessary to full crimp. Not because the hold was so bad or so small necessarily, but because I could not achieve the right shoulder position and body tension in the more open grip types. I tried the full crimp a couple of times on Hyperglide and it felt like it could go, but it also really hurt. Under normal circumstances, I would spread out my sessions so that I don't do that tweaky little move too many times in a day or a week or a month or whatever. But all of a sudden, 4 months in Vegas was coming to an end, and if I didn't send Hyperglide right then, I didn't know if or when I'd be back for another try. And I really didn't think I could live with putting in like 8 sessions into this thing and not coming away with a send. So on my last session on Hyperglide, I fully committed to the full crimp. 7:58 a.m. This is my very last attempt to send Hyperglide before it haunts me forever. Oh my God, this is such an epic boulder and I wanted to send it so bad. Spent a session or two before having any proper goes of the crux move, and the next 5 or 6 avoiding the full crimp. But like I mentioned, I just couldn't manage to keep tension on the tiny crimp and the bad sloper while in an open position on the left hand. Full crimp allowed me to be more engaged and hit a better position with that left shoulder, allowing me to keep a little better tension on the feet. I really don't think I would have gotten past this crux without committing to that full crimp. I tried a lot of times before and the full crimp got me through it, but I could already feel the pain in my left ring finger. I was so invested in this boulder, I certainly wasn't going to drop now, but I was getting a little scared about what it could mean long term for that ring finger.
I fell down to earth from 100 miles away, and somehow I still make it work.
Come on.
But it's overrated. It's somehow played out.
Yes. Yes. Not gonna lie, that was like the most satisfying send of my life, but my ring finger did hurt for like a couple of months afterwards. Felt kind of sketchy. Apparently it wasn't too bad because I didn't rehab it or anything, and it's fine now. I get injured similar to this a lot, so I have a few other vids that you might find helpful too. Either way, thanks for watching, folks. What the? Yes! Yes! Hyperglide! Yes!